Hey, everybody. Good day. Captain Lou here with another edition of Tigers Daily in partnership with the Fan Arts Network. Happy Thursday, August the 6th, 2026. Hey, before we get started, just a reminder for those of you that are checking us out and haven't subscribed, we invite you to do so. Be a part of the Tigers Daily family. We talk everything Detroit Tigers, the good, the bad, and everything in between. Talk about the latest rumors, what's going on and off the field, and, of course, the games from the day before, and take a sneak peek and a look at what's going on coming up in the near future for the Tigers as well. For those of you that have subscribed, I say thank you very much. The response, again, has been absolutely phenomenal. The viewership's been off the charts. The banner back and forth, the comments has been absolutely amazing. We really do appreciate that, as always, here on Tigers Daily. Hey, just a programming note. I'm going to be out for a couple of days. We're going to take a little trip up north, so you may not see me again until Sunday. If something breaks or if I got a chance, we'll get another show on here before then. But just going to take a couple days off, a little recharge, if you will, here on Tigers Daily. All right. Well, as they say, all good things must come to an end. The bats got cooled off last night for the Tigers. Bryan Woo, he returned the favor as the Tigers lost Game 2 of the three-game set to the Mariners by the score of 4-2. Woo, 7 scoreless innings for the Mariners in that contest against the Tigers. Drew Anderson, got to give him credit. He pitched pretty good for the Tigers in the start. He only went 3 2/3 innings, though. And, it just makes me wonder right off the top. It was said yesterday. Now, yesterday on the broadcast, we said it was going to be a bullpen game. And that, when you look at it, that's what we thought. And then it was made to sound like Drew Anderson was going to be a permanent part of the rotation, at least for now. But only going 3 2/3 innings, only giving up 1 walk, 3 hits. He didn't get any strikeouts. He only threw 42 pitches. Is that going to be a permanent starter in our rotation? I thought he pitched pretty good. One of his better outings of the year for the Tigers, to be honest with you. Now, take nothing away from Holton. He pitched 2 scoreless innings of relief. But then Hannafy came in, and he's struggling right now for the Tigers, let's face it. And we all know the status of our bullpen. It's not great. It's been referred to as a gas can more often than not here on the show, and justifiably so. Hannafy got the loss, giving up 3 runs, including the home run to Rodriguez in the 6th inning to break open the scoreless tie. The Mariners got 3 runs in the bottom of the 6th. Then they added another one in the bottom of the 8th when the Tigers cut it to 2. Dylan Dingler got another home run for the Tigers as he continues his hot bat, leading the way for the Tigers in home runs again this year. But it wasn't enough for the Tigers as they dropped that game 4-2. DeJesus gave up that home run in the 8th. His first run that he's given up, since back in May, I believe the end of May. We praised his exploits, how well he's done for the Tigers, and he has done well. This is the first time he's been dinged in a couple of months. Now, I get it. He just has been brought up. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But when he was sent down, he had 13 scoreless innings, consecutive scoreless innings. And then he had in his other appearance for the Tigers, he did well. So this is his first ding in a long time. Not so much worried about him. But again, my big question right now with the Tigers right now, with these voids, with the trades of Skubal and Mize, are they going to keep Anderson as a starter? And if Hinch does, is he going to let him go more than 3 2/3 innings? He's got to let him go at least 5 innings, especially when he's pitching shutout ball. Now, again, if he would have done that, who knows? Maybe Hannafy wouldn't have been needed in the 6th or the 7th inning or whatever. He didn't record an out. Drew Summers came in and got that last out. But, again, it wasn't enough for the Tigers. Now, 4-game winning streak is snapped. But as crazy as it sounds, if there's a silver lining with this loss, it's that none of the other teams ahead of Detroit won again last night. The White Sox, the Guardians, the Twins, they all got beat. So Detroit is still just a game and a half out of the wild card spot and 4.5 games out of first place in the American League Central. That's how you got to look at it. You can't expect Detroit to win every game. There's no way they're going to win every game. So, I mean, at least they didn't lose any ground in both the wild card and in the American League Central standings. So that's how I'm going to look at it. That's my point of view. Just like what I'm saying with the trades over the weekend, that's in the past now. We can't keep worrying about it. Not going to keep dwelling on losing Skubal and Mize. We got to look at what's had a promising young roster. So, anyways, game two went to the Mariners 4-2. The loss. Now the Tigers 55 up, 59 down as they go into the series finale this afternoon against the Mariners. Speaking of that series finale, it's going to be Framber Valdez taking the bump for the Tigers against the Mariners. Now, I don't want to put the Maloik on him, and I don't really want to jinx him too much, but we need at least 6 strong innings out of Framber Valdez today in this series finale. The bullpen, just, it's you just don't know. It's like a box of chocolates, as Forrest Gump used to say, right? You just don't know what you're going to get out of this bullpen crew. Now, we know Anderson's not going to be throwing in there. Who's going to be throwing in there? Is Ty Madden going to be at the ready? Who knows? It's anybody's guess. But we need a strong outing out of Framber Valdez if they're going to try to get this series, win this series, and keep pace in the American League. Now, no day off for the Tigers as they'll head down the coast after the game to take on the San Francisco Giants for 3 games coming up on Friday. And the schedule looks like this for the Tigers. It's going to be Keider Montero taking the hill for the Tigers on Friday night. Don't know who he's going to be going up against. But then on Saturday, Jackson Jobe. He's going to get that first start his first start back for the Tigers in over a year after Tommy John surgery. And again, we asked yesterday, how many pitches are they going to let Jackson Jobe throw? My guess at the most, and this is just a guess, but I know how A.J. Hinch is, especially with injuries. My guess is it's going to be probably around 60 pitches. So, again, a quasi-bullpen game potentially. The most I think they'll let Jackson Jobe go on Saturday will be 5 innings unless he's mowing him down 5 pitches an inning, which we know doesn't happen very often. So that's going to be the big question this weekend. And then on Sunday, it's going to be Troy Melton going to the mound against Webb, so in the series finale. Then the Tigers get a day off on Monday, and then they start that crucial 6-game homestand against the Guardians and the White Sox. So kind of a sneak peek ahead at what's up with the lineup as far as the pitching staff goes, the rotation for the weekend. Again, it's Valdez today in the series finale for the Tigers, and then on Friday night in San Francisco, it's going to be Keider Montero, who pitched very well in his last outing for the Tigers against the Athletics, Jackson Jobe on Saturday, and then Troy Melton on Sunday to wrap it up, the road trip for the Tigers. So, again, 55 up, 59 down. We'll talk more about the standings here in a little bit. Tigers with their 4-game streak snapped, even with only these 2 runs that they got last night against the Mariners. In the last 8 games, they scored 74 runs. Let me just compare that to you for something. I know we have our number segment at the end, but those 74 runs are just 7 less than they scored in the whole month of May in that 6-22 streak that they endured in May that put the Tigers behind the 8 ball where they're at right now in the American League standings. So just kind of a food for thought for the Tigers as they continue to try to claw back. With the bats are still hot. It's just one of those games where they were cooled off. Kudos to Brian Wu again for the Mariners last night. 7 strong innings. He got a huge quality start for the Mariners in that 4-2 win. All right. We've kind of steered away from this. We've been asking this a couple of times, just different segments here. Thought we would change it up a little bit. We've got, like I said, probably going to take a couple days off as the family's going to venture up north. So I thought I'd ask you this, and I would love to see a response on this. As a Tigers fan, when you first started watching Detroit, who was your first favorite Tiger? Who was the one that you just couldn't wait to see or couldn't wait to listen to for some of the folks like me who, growing up when I was young, didn't really get an opportunity to see the Tigers very often? I grew up in the Upper Peninsula. We were stuck watching the Brewers with the Wisconsin TV stations up north, or if the Tigers were on, it'd be once a year maybe on the Monday night game of the week on ABC, or maybe the Saturday afternoon game of the week on NBC, which I always had to arm wrestle with my parents because they wouldn't want me sitting inside on a beautiful Saturday sunny afternoon to watch the game. But who was your favorite Tiger growing up? Mine had to be Al Kaline, Mr. Hustle. That's all my dad talked about when I was little. And, of course, he was Mr. Tiger, Hall of Famer, one of the best right fielders ever. I know I'm biased because I'm a Tiger fan, but that's what we talk about here on Tigers Daily, right? So who was your favorite Tiger growing up? I'd love to see the comments. That's our first question for you. It could be a couple of them. But, the one that stands out for me back in the early 70s growing up before he retired was Al Kaline. And then after that, obviously, Lou Whitaker and Alan Trammell. But I loved Willie Horton, too. So those are my favorites. My ultimate favorite Tiger growing up to start was Al Kaline. And then, of course, the boys later on in the late 70s, Lou Whitaker and Alan Trammell, Lance Parrish, Kirk Gibson, that core of players for the Tigers. So that was my favorite. And again, and I will even throw you a caveat. If you became a Tiger fan later in life and there was another team that you grew up watching early when you were a young baseball fan, who could that be? What non-Tiger may have been your favorite? But right now we're looking for who's your first favorite Tiger, the one that really got you into watching baseball. Who was the one you cheered for? Again, mine was Al Kaline. So just something different that we like to do from time to time here on Tigers Daily, just to kind of throw a little, not really a curveball, but just throw something different out for everybody. So I'd love to hear your response on that as well. All right, the standings in Major League Baseball. Let's take a quick look in the standings. Now, we mentioned at the top, this is the beauty of what happened yesterday. Now, there's two ways to look at it, but I'm not going to look at it in the negative way. That's just not what I do. Not if I can help it anyways. The Guardians, the White Sox, the Twins all lost. And like we said, there's no way the Tigers are going to go, 50-0 the rest of the way, or how many games they got left. This was the perfect time if Detroit had to lose, this was the perfect time for them to lose because they didn't lose any ground in both the wild card and the division standings. We'll go with the wild card right now. The Yankees lost again yesterday, and the Red Sox, that's all they do is win. I think the Red Sox are 31-4 right now out of their last 35. That kind of shades of our 84 Tigers that started out the year 35-5. Well, the Yankees have the top wild card spot, but they only have a one-game lead over the Red Sox. Those two are separating themselves from the pack as far as the wild card chase goes because now it's the Texas Rangers and the Cleveland Guardians are tied for that final wild card spot, one game under 500. I mean, that's sad. How pathetic is the American League, right? That's what I'm saying. The Baltimore Orioles won yesterday. They're now just a half game out of the wild card spot, and they were monster sellers at the deadline too, by the way. We'll see how long they can keep it up. Then the Mariners and the Twins are a game out. Mariners hopped over Detroit with that win. Then it's the Tigers, a game and a half out, and then the Toronto Blue Jays are 3, and then you go down to the Kansas City Royals who are 9 out, the Athletics and the Angels 11.5 out each. So that's crazy. And so, yeah, it's still a logjam. One game under 500 is getting you into the wild card playoff right now. That's absolutely insane here in August. And so that it's just 85 wins, I'm telling you, will probably get the Tigers into the playoffs, and it may even get the division. The White Sox are playing pretty good, although they've lost a couple straight. In the American League division standings, Tampa Bay, they won last night, so their lead is up to 4.5 over the Yankees, 5.5 up over the Red Sox, 12 over the Orioles. Then in the Central, we talked about it. The White Sox losing, the Guardians losing, the Twins losing, and the Tigers losing. So the lead is still 3 games over the Guardians, 4 over the Twins, 4.5 over the Tigers. And then in the West, the Astros lost, so their lead is now just a game and a half over the Rangers, 2.5 over the Mariners. And then the National League East, the Braves won again. The Phillies lost, so that lead now is back to 8.5 games for the Braves over the Phillies. And the Marlins lost again. They're fading out of contention right now after such a hot June. In the Central, the Brewers, the Cubs, they both won along with the Cardinals, so the lead is still 5.5. The Dodgers, they have now lost 6 straight. They haven't won since they got Tarik Skubal How's that? How crazy is that? And it's not his fault. I just had to sarcastically throw that out there. But anyways, the Dodgers, their lead is now 8 games over the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks won again. Still a big lead, but it's kind of interesting. That lead at one time was 16 games in the division. Now, I know the Dodgers are not going to have the epic collapse. There's no way they could have that epic collapse that Detroit had, right? Top that where they lost the division. In the wild card, real quick, in the National League, the Diamondbacks and the Phillies each own the final. They're tied for the second and third wild card spot. The Padres, the Padres are 2 back. The Marlins 3 back, and the Cardinals and Pirates are right around 4.5 back. The Reds are 5 back, and the Nationals 5.5 back. So again, a log jam there. So many teams still alive in the wild card chase in both the American and the National League. All right, some numbers here before we get into the comments. Some numbers that we like to give tidbits from time to time as well. Some interesting numbers. I want to go back to some of the things the Tigers are doing. We talked about how many runs that they've scored. In the last 8 games, the Tigers have scored 74 runs. And we said it earlier, in that 6-22 May, that stretch, they only scored 81 runs. So that tells you how bad it was for Detroit in May. And they're still in it in a playoff chase. Even with that, the bats have woken up, led by Dylan Dingler, obviously, Kevin McGonigal, Riley Green he's kind of slumped as of late, and Gleyber Torres, he's still dependable for the Tigers. So some great numbers. But here's one that, since July 26th, Zach McKinstry, he's batting .417 with an OPS of 1.148, so his bat's woken up a little bit. We're going to need that out of him, obviously, because it doesn't look like they're going to bring up Zaire Hope till next year, and I can't wait to see him in the Tigers uniform. But if Detroit's going to remain in contention, they've got to have that. So, and here's one, and again, we're not going to keep dwelling on this much longer, but I had to share this with you. If you want to look at Tiger data, go to X or Twitter or whatever and look up Tiger data, because they always have some interesting facts on there, and I give them kudos. I got to give them their flowers. This is what I kind of look at amongst other things when we prepare here. But they brought something up really interesting. The other night, Troy Melton, 97 pitches. How many starts this year did Tarik Skubal have with 97 pitches? And I'll tell you right now, Stu Ugat, 0, nothing. So, yeah, in that start the other night, it's kind of ironic. In the 7 innings that Melton worked, he threw 97 pitches. Skubal never threw that many pitches in a start all year for the Tigers. And here's another very cool stat for Troy Melton. Since they started tracking earned run average back in 1913, he's the only pitcher in Major League history in his first 16 starts to be under 2 ERA, under a 1 whip, walks and hits per innings pitched. And he's got 13-plus team wins in his 16 starts. He's the only one in Major League history to do that in his first 16 starts. That's Troy Melton. So he's off to a fantastic start in the Tigers uniform. An exciting thing to look forward to with the Tigers. He's been anointed by a lot of people right now as the ace, and I'm guilty of it right now as well, until somebody else on this Tiger staff can knock him off. But another young arm. Let's hope that Detroit can keep him for a long time, and we'll see what he looks for down the road as well, because I know I've had a couple of people come up to me and say, when are the Tigers going to trade him, or how much money is he going to ask for? Let's just enjoy the moment. Let's just do that. So anyway, some interesting numbers on that as well. Now, we talked about the record, 55 up, 59 down. Now, for the Tigers to go 85-77 and get that last, get into the playoffs a little more comfortably, I think 85 is going to be the magic number. They've got to go 30-18 the rest of the way. Now, they did it through June into July, so it's possible. To get to 83 wins, which might get you in, right now it would for sure, with the losing record getting the final wildcard spot, Detroit would have to go 28-20 in their final 48 games. Now, I would feel a lot more comfortable if Detroit was looking at that last series trying to get to 85 wins, getting their 85th win. I think that will get them a playoff spot. So they would have to go 30-18 the rest of the way to do that. And it's possible. The bats are heated up if they can still get the quality pitching. And if Anderson is indeed going to be that starter in the rotation, Hinch lets him go more than 3.2 innings. That's a big if. Then I think the Tigers have a chance. And lastly, some tidbits and some numbers that we like to look at. Now, we talked about this last week where it's just a different era right now for hitting, right? It's all about the home runs, all about, just strikeouts. They don't matter like they used to when I was growing up or even 20 years ago. I looked at the batting race in the American League, just the American League. How many batters are hitting over 300? That's right, just one. And that's Yordan Alvarez. Now, he's on pace to get the Triple Crown. He's going to win the batting title. I think he's hitting 329. Now, there is a batter right at 300, and his name escapes me right now. But with that being said, he's the only one over 300. What is this, the dead ball era? I mean, the ball hops out of the ballpark. Now, I'm going to blame this a little bit on the rule changes. I still am against it, is when they decided to ban the shift. Now, I know a lot of teams they exaggerated the shift and put a lot of people to the pull side. But what that did do, in my opinion, and I don't think they teach this in the minor leagues as much anymore, these guys don't spray hit like they used to. Batters aren't as skilled to go the opposite way. They don't have to. So, I mean, that to me, that's a lost start, just like bunting. Now, obviously, bunting, you're not going to get that for base hits very often, but I blame it on a little bit. I blame it on when they banned the shift. I could be way off base on it, but that's just my opinion. I think that these batters don't know how to hit the other way. The small ball aspect of the game obviously isn't what it used to be. You don't see the sacrifice bunts or whatever, but hitting to the opposite field, just the skill of hitting, I don't think is there like it used to be. So, and the numbers are in the proof is right there. When you've only got one batter batting over 300 in the American League, Yordan Alvarez hitting 329, he's going to win the batting title, and more than likely, he's going to win the home run and the RBI title. He'll be the first. He'll be the first person in the American League to win the Triple Crown since Miguel Cabrera. So, all right, let's take a quick look at some of the comments from yesterday's show. Let me get the glasses on here. Night Owl KN6GM. Troy Melton is going to be the next great Detroit Tigers pitcher. Good show, Lou. Thank you very much, Knight, for taking time out to be with us. And, yeah, I agree, Troy Melton. He's got that potential. He's on his way to becoming that next great pitcher. And Rocking Roy, 58, he agrees with me on the Jackson Jobe situation. I think, and he thinks 75 pitches. I would love to see that. That would probably get him 5 innings, if not 6. I think, again, we got to have our pitchers. That's another lost start right now. You're lucky to get 6 innings out of a pitcher. That's it. The 7-inning games, are few and far between. I'm going to have to look that up. Melton got 7 innings the other day. Not a lot of times Detroit's getting quality starts. And as I mentioned, in our minor leagues, I think we've got 2 quality starts out of all 4 teams in the minor leagues combined. And we also asked a question the other day about the lockout. Do you think there's going to be a lockout, and are you in favor of a salary cap? Let's go to Martin Klein 6726, or Mark Hertline 6726. I even got my glasses on. Yes and yes. He wants both. And E. Coombs says, the real reason why in the hell did they sign JV, never understood it. He thinks it's a boneheaded move. Well, it's not looking good right now, is it? I can't argue with him. He's pitching in front of the mound right now. That's his status with the Tigers. So I'm not counting on him pitching the rest of the year. Maybe a ceremonial, some type of something, maybe if they're out of it later on in September, they might give him a chance. But, yeah, I don't know. I want to thank Jared Boyd, too, for coming on and subscribing to the show. We invite everybody to do that. Thank you for being a part of the Tigers Daily family. And also a born-again gamer, Jono. He says yes and yes with the hard cap and with the lockout possibilities. We asked that yesterday about the CBA. It's going to be a rough sail in the beginning of 2027. We talked about it, how far apart, the payrolls are. And, how the owners, especially with what went on with the Dodgers signing Skubal, again, that kind of blows up the talk with the CBA a little bit, thinking the Dodgers have that advantage. And they do over some of the minor or the smaller market ball clubs. But again, you can't take away from the Dodgers with their excellent scouting department and what they do with all of their prospects. They've got they've got assets galore. So those are just some of the comments that we've got on from yesterday's show, and I welcome them so much. And again, everybody that's taken time out to be with us, it's just made this so much fun. So, all right, that's going to do it for this edition of Tigers Daily. Again, no show tomorrow. I'll be up taking a little ride up north. We're going to get a little getaway, and then I'll be back in a couple of days with an update, probably on Sunday. So if you want to check us out then, if you got a moment, that would be amazing. And then probably no show Monday. I'll be traveling back home, and then we'll get it going full-time again on Tuesday. But until then, hey, everybody, enjoy your weekend, all right? Enjoy the Tigers. Series finale against the Mariners today, as Framber Valdez is going to take the bump. Then they travel down the coast, 3 with San Francisco to wind up the road trip. And the exciting part about that is Jackson Jobe. Again, he'll be back in action for the Tigers as a starter on Saturday. Kiter Montero starts the series against San Francisco on Friday. So, all right, that's, again, appreciate everybody taking time out to be with us. Have a safe weekend. Until next time, Captain Lou saying keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. So long.